Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. Here we are at the beginning of a new year, and many of us look at that as an opportunity to tidy things up, organize things at home, kind of a clean slate approach to our lives. Part of that should be your financial situation. Now, you may think that one area over here is pretty acceptable in your eyes, but the other areas over there might not be. How can you have, we clean up our houses, typically at the beginning of the year, you have some time. What about your financial house? Is it in order? We're going to talk about that today and give you some sound advice from somebody that has been doing this, helping people with their finances for many decades. So much experience, well-versed in everything right down to the tax code, and has a fantastic team. Jacques Financial is the company. He's our professional of the year. He's our go-to when it comes to finances. Joe Jacques joins us on the program. How you doing today?
I am doing well. I hope everybody is going to have a wonderful and healthy new year.
Lots to talk about here. And Joe, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm almost, best way to describe this, apprehensive to hear what you're going to say, because myself, and I'm sure many of us, are wondering, our financial situation, is it where it should be? Have we taken the steps? What can we do with it? We might be kicking ourselves, after hearing some of the things that you're going to talk about. But it's so important. We spend most of our lives working and accruing income. And what are we doing with it? I guess that's the big question.
Well, the key is, financial security. And our education system really doesn't educate us on how to be financially successful. I mean, I go through a high school and college. Nobody even bothered telling me how to balance a checkbook, let alone, taking a simple, class on finances. Like you basically save money and basically stay out of debt. Our society is basically you spend money and you get into debt, which is the worst thing you can do from a financial standpoint. So what I try to do is educate my clients on the 3 steps of being financially successful.
Those 3, and it's a great point you bring up. They don't really teach any of this, even in school now. And I can't think of what the course is entitled in high school. It used to be home economics. Now it's like domestic something or whatever. They'll teach you how to bake, which is important. I get that. But the financial aspect of it, like the personal financial responsibility, nothing. I have a daughter who's 16 and a son who's 18. I don't think I've never seen anything like that offered in school.
No, I don't think they do. I don't understand why, but they seem to think that everybody just should know this, which is so far from the truth. Yep,
exactly. So 3 categories we're going to look at today. What are they?
Well, the first thing is, the 3 things in summary is protection, savings, and growth. Those are the key of financial success. So let's first start with protection. What does that mean? You should basically build a house instead of building a house on sand, you need to build your foundation on solid concrete, which means you should be having a will. I get to so many people that never have a will, but that's something that we need. You basically also should have life insurance. Life insurance is another key, especially if you have small kids. That if something happens to you, that's critical. You should have disability insurance. In case you got injured on the job, that's called a living death. So that's key. And then other types of insurance, like an umbrella policy. A lot of people say, what is an umbrella policy? Well, that fits on top of an auto and homeowner's insurance. So if somebody sues you, your insurance probably will protect you for maybe $250,000 or $500,000 if you get into a bad automobile accident. Well, you and I know that everybody is going to sue for a nice round number, which starts with $1 million or more. So what an umbrella policy does is fits on top of your existing auto and homeowner's policy and gives you an extra $1 million or $2 million on top of that just to protect your personal assets. Because if something happens to you, they're going to go against your assets, and whatever savings you have are going to be wiped out. So, and it's so cheap. You go with your property and casualty insurance person, and basically it's, for $1 million umbrella policy, we're talking maybe $150. So it's not that expensive to be totally financially secure. So those are the type of foundation vehicles that we need to put in place. So if something were to happen to our other assets, you don't go bankrupt.
I don't know if you would have deeper insight on this, but I want to pose this question. I was watching TV last night, just walked in the room. There was a commercial that just finished up. And I don't even know what company it is, but it was a company that helps you prepare your will, or it could be a trust, whatever it might be. I feel that many of us, I can even say that from your voice, I think you're kind of skeptical. I think many of us don't get it done because we think, got to go to an attorney. There's going to be time. There's going to be expense. Do you think that some of those services, if they're vetted out, could be reasonable?
Oh, I think very much so, because the key is to have a will. So even if you have not a professionally prepared will that costs you thousands of dollars, you can go on the internet right now, and I think some of the will sites are wills.com or trust.com, and they're kind of boilerplate type of documents, but that's, in most of the cases, that's all you need. And they probably cost you only about $100 to get a trust done online. So, not to have it, because of cost, there's no excuse.
So to your point, I literally just went to wills.com, $99. So you're so much on target there. Wow.
And see, I guessed at that. So
that's why you do what you do. And that is, you bring it to your local notary to legalize it. But if you want that done for you, it goes up to $229. And that's, will and online notarization. So interesting. And when I asked you that question, and we'll move on from this point, I was referring to somebody that doesn't have a huge amount of assets. I'm not talking, millions and millions of dollars. I'm just talking, the average middle-class person with, some savings, some investments, that kind of thing. So it seems reasonable. All right.
And another thing is, a lot of people, you want to avoid probate if, God forbid, something happens to you. And if only assets are in just your name, you would then have to go into probate, which is a long process and can be expensive. So just simple things like putting everything in joint names, or having beneficiaries on all of your investment accounts, whether there be, retirement accounts, whether checking accounts, whether savings accounts. You get increased FDIC insurance, in addition, avoiding probate. So if, God forbid, something did happen, your family members could gain access to your assets right away. Yeah.
And we're not selling anything here. I mean, you just threw it out there, wills.com. And final thought, I think it's kind of funny. With the online notarization, it takes it up to $229, but you have to have 2 witnesses join the call. However, if you want to take it up another $30 or so, they will provide 2 neutral witnesses to sign for the for the will. So, all right, interesting. So we're talking about protection. Do we move on to savings from this point?
Yeah, and savings, I think, is the critical piece of this, because this is where you don't spend, you save. And that's the key of, wealth accumulation. So the key is you pay yourself first. Basically, because if there's money in the checkbook, you're going to be tempted to spend it. But if you're the first bill that gets paid, so let's give you some examples. Let's say a 401k plan. Most people have 401k plans at work where the employer matches. Most employers match, let's say, 5%. So at a minimum, you need to be putting money into your 401k plan to take advantage of the extra 5%. To give you an example, and most of the time you want to do it in a traditional IRA, not a Roth, to maximize your savings. To give you an example how the math works, let's say you save $1,000 and put $1,000 in a 401k plan. Well, you get a deduction on that, which means, let's say you're in the 30% tax bracket. So it's only costing you $700 to do 1,000, and then if your employer matches at 5%, you're now up to having $1,500 and only having $700 out of your pocket. Tremendous way of accumulating wealth is just this first concept of contributing to a tax-deductible 401k plan.
Wow.
So those are just simple examples of how you can take these final steps. Another one is most people have kids, and there's plans out there called 529 plans where you can contribute money into these plans. Normally they're done through the state, but a lot of private mutual fund companies also have them where you can contribute to 529 plans to help educate your kids, and the money grows completely tax-free. So when the child is ready to go to, they're able to be used for elementary school, high school, college. They're really become very flexible in all what they do. They basically totally come out tax-free. And now just recently, I think a year ago, the government passed a rule where if you have extra money in the account that you didn't use it all for education, which I would be very surprised with the cost of education anymore.
Seriously?
You can even take that money and contribute to a Roth for a child. So these investment vehicles have gotten so flexible, and that they're really wonderful vehicles for education or other things that you have. And then just paying yourself first. Putting money away, trying to, save. So we're saving for retirement, we're saving for education, and just saving for, let's say, another house, to buy a second home, whether buy a second car, but putting money away first before you buy it. Don't buy with credit because the companies love you because you're paying 16% interest or whatever. You try to save first before you buy it. That's how you become financially secure.
So, pausing for just a moment, big purchase, house, car. Let's say, and a lot of people look at a new year, I've got time for a new car. Would you lease a vehicle based on current rates? And or would you buy a vehicle now? And if you could pay cash for it, would you just pay cash based on all the rates right now? What are your thoughts? Quick thoughts on that.
Well, yeah. So let's just understand there's some principles of why or not you lease. If you're the type of person that always has to have a new car, let's say every 3 years, that's what they strive for and that's what they work for. Mm-hmm. Leasing is the best way of going because you're usually putting like 15,000 a year miles on it. You keep it 3 years and then you trade it in. Economically, leasing is the best. But if you're somebody like myself that keeps a car 15 years, your only way of going is to buy it. Because if you keep leasing and leasing and leasing, that's a much more expensive way of handling it. If you plan to keep it a long time, 10 to 15 years, buying it would be the best way of going.
And we're the same. I don't try to keep my vehicles that long. I just do, but I buy a better vehicle and it lasts longer. Just the way it is. I guess financially better. That being said, in the final question on the car purchase, if you can buy it cash, it sounds like you should. What would you think about, let's say financing half of it? Is there a benefit to that even if you do have the cash? Thoughts on that?
Well, if you have the cash, it depends on how you're utilizing the cash. If you have it in a 1% a savings account, and the car is going to cost you 6% financing, putting the most down cash-wise is the best. But if you have it into mutual funds and you've been very successful, like we all have over the last 5 or 6 years, and you put it into a mutual fund earning, let's say, between 8 and 10%, then I would basically not use my cash. I would not take it out of the market to basically buy the car. I would more or less finance it if I can finance it, let's say, for 6%.
Gotcha.
So it depends on how you're utilizing your cash and whether you're aggressive or conservative with dealing with your money.
So in terms of savings, do you think we've nailed everything?
From the savings, those are the three keys: 401k plans, education plans, and then just saving up for additional items that you want to buy eventually.
So next up, we have protection, savings. What's next in the getting our financial house in order?
The final step is growth, meaning having your money be productive. Whether you go with having somebody manage the money for you and manage portfolios, having some putting money into indexes, through trying to do it yourself through, let's say, a Vanguard, saving, but putting them into productive vehicles. You can go either with a moderate conservative portfolio, a middle-of-the-road type of portfolio where you mix stocks and bonds, or if you have a lot of time, let's say if you're a younger person, you want to be more aggressive, so you go with large cap funds, small cap funds, international funds. So depending the type of time frame you have will dictate how aggressive or not aggressive you should be. If you're in your retirement modes into your 60s, you need to be very conservative and de-risk your portfolio. So you go with more conservative vehicles such as guaranteed income for life through annuities. So there's different investment strategies at different ages.
How do you make that determination? Let's go hypothetical here. Let's say you're somebody who, let's say you're in your 50s, and you've got some investments. Let's say, I don't know, maybe $1 million. We go round number. How do you make the determination of how aggressive to be?
Well, it depends on the person themselves. I feel you look at the time frame that you have. So if you're not really planning to retire until your Social Security age, which is now 67, and you're in your early 50s, you're talking you have 15 years. So if we have a down market, basically that just enables you to buy low, buy everything on sale, and still have a chance to recoup. One of our worst event, like a 9/11 event or the down market that we had in 07 and 08, it took about 10 years to recover. So in your mid-50s, you still have that 10 years to recover and still invest things when they're at a low point. But when you're in your mid-60s, you don't have that time to make up, and you have to be much more conservative.
Gotcha. So in terms of growth, anything else that we should hit today?
No, those are the pieces, but it's the key is diversification. Not putting in all your eggs in one basket. So you just don't want to buy one stock. You want to buy a basket of stocks to diversify your portfolio. So if one of those companies have trouble, you don't lose everything.
Let's talk about the market right now. What are you seeing? What are you feeling?
Well, basically, I feel pretty good about the market right now. I believe with, I don't want to get into politics or whatever, but I feel we're not going to probably see as much, fees and cost. There's going to be less regulation going forward, which I think is going to be good for the stock market. So at least going out another 2 years, I feel very bullish.
Interesting. So you're feeling within the next 2 years we'll be looking at a pretty good market?
That's what I believe.
Wow. Your firm, and you've been doing this, as we said, for many, many, many years, tons of experience. Your team actually includes some family members. Tell us about that.
Well, I've been very blessed to have some of my family members come in the business. My first cousin, Bill Jacques, has been with me about 15 years. He's a CPA and also an attorney. So he gives our clients a broad base of experience. So if they have simple questions from a legal standpoint, he can help them. In addition to, an extensive tax background, because that's where our firm specializes in, mainly tax preparation and basically financial planning. My son came in the business about 6 years ago. I had him work a couple of different places in an accounting firm and another financial planning firm to get experience, because you don't want to work for Dad right off the bat.
Yeah.
To get other experiences. And I couldn't be more proud of my son. He is really taking ownership of the business and has a sense of pride. And as I get older, I start saying, well, my clients have to basically, expand, because if something were to happen to me, I want them to be comfortable with other people in my firm. So I have Jeremy sitting in on my meetings, and he of course talks and impresses my clients so much that when they call back, ask me another question, they ask for him. They don't ask for me anymore.
That's funny. Well, you got to be proud about that.
I am extremely proud, and he's so good. In fact, he has won the Millennial of the Year award for Forbes magazine for the state of Maryland. He was ranked the top millennial in the state of Maryland, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
I have to tell you, looking at those photos on your website, Jeremy and Bill, and of course you guys look related. There's no doubt. It's kind of amazing. You could morph it all together into one person. And that's just a part of your team. You have many others, investment members of your team, some people on the tax aspect of it, and so much more. Fortunately, a lot of this can be done virtually and pretty much anywhere. If somebody wants to retain your firm for many different services, what's the best way to find your company?
Well, our website would be jacksfinancial.com. So it's JACQUES financial.com. And our direct phone number is 301-738-1303.
It has been a pleasure talking with you, Joe. Learned so much today, and even validated some things as well that I wondered about. I'm sure others. Appreciate you and everything your team brings to the financial table, and definitely want to say Happy New Year.
Well, very good. Well, happy New Year to all your listeners. I think, as I said before, I think it's going to be a great New Year. I
truly want to say that makes me feel good when I hear it in your voice, especially about the market for the next 2 years. I'm breathing a sigh of relief, and I'm sure many others are. So I appreciate that, and especially coming from you with all your experience, it carries a lot of weight. All the best. We'll talk soon. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit. And make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.